Howdy fellas! As you might know, making video games is a bit difficult, especially when you're working alone because you have no friends and you're sad and lonely. Wouldn't it be cool to speed up this process a bit? I mean, let's say you're making an open world game. You're not making it easy for yourself, but whatever. Wouldn't it be cool if you could just draw entire map in Paint and then make computer convert it into a game world? That's great, because that's exactly what I was doing. So let me take you through the process of making this piece of shit. So I started by drawing a map, I mean obviously, but this time I used GIMP instead of Paint. And yes, it's pronounced GIMP if you didn't know. I took this random image from like Google Maps. I don't even remember where it was just like random village, because I wanted to be like actual thing and not just something made up for this project. I started drawing by tracing the roads. I tried to take colors from the Google Maps, but the color palette was kind of shit, so I didn't really do it that much. So basically every color will be responsible for a different terrain type. Like for example, blue will be roads and green will be grass, darker green will be trees, and gray will be buildings. It's basically similar to how it looks like on Google Maps, except a bit less aesthetic, I guess. So yeah, here I added all the grass. Everything that's not a road is basically a grass. Then I tried to trace all the buildings. It was really pixelated, so it didn't go as well, but I don't know, it's like whatever, I guess. I took some artistic liberties with the placement of these buildings because, as you can see, you can't really see much, and I didn't really care, to be honest. Then I added this darker green which symbolizes trees. I placed like a small hut in the forest, as you can see in the right top corner. And I guess that's how the road map looks like. It's just a test, so I guess it doesn't have to be really good. After that I added new layer to make a topographic map. So basically the brightness of every pixel is going to symbolize the height of the terrain. At this point I was just doing whatever, I didn't go off anything in particular. So then I decided to smooth it out, because if I just left the rough edges like that, it would look kind of weird, like the terrain would jump like in the Pokemon games. Yeah, I wanted terrain to be smooth. So yeah, this is basically how the map turned out. It's not really that important. The most important part is how it's gonna look in 3D, so I don't know. After I finished this beautiful artwork, it was time to start programming, and programming I started by loading this topographic map, because I need a terrain, I won't just let these trees and stuff float in space. And also I did something similar in my past project. You can go and watch it if you want, of course after this video, because I need retention. How it works is really simple. The brightness of a pixel represents the corresponding height of the terrain. After that I started adding buildings, and as I correctly predicted, it was the most annoying part of this whole project, because how do I even do this? I was wondering how my program will know the shape of the building. I mean, you can easily see it on an image, but how is my program supposed to know that? For example, how does it know that there's only one building and not multiple next to each other? You have to remember that the CPU is looking at one pixel at the time. I mean, you can check its neighbors, but every time you do that, the complexity of your program will increase and it will run slower. And we don't want that, even though it's already running really slow. But I don't want to end up like under a simulator, checking like billion conditions every frame. But I went with the saying, work smarter, not harder. I mean, it would be dumber in this case. I decided to add another color to the map that symbolizes where the building should start. But why is it dumber, you ask? And it's because I went with the simplest solution, which means I have to put a single pixel wherever I want the house to be. If I put two of them right next to each other, there will be two houses, one inside of the other, you know what I'm saying? And also it needs to be on the border of this grey blob so that I can calculate the angle of the house. And you can probably imagine how annoying it is if I had a map with high resolution. But if it saves me on some brain cells, I'll do it. And buildings are basically generated out of these voxels that have shape of the building. I don't really know how to explain it, but you can clearly see how it works. And having the buildings made of these blocks makes it really easy to find where the walls and all the doors and windows should go. So then I decided to add these walls and doors and windows. Walls were the easiest because it's just a square, but the windows and doors had a hole in them and it was a bit more difficult. The easiest way to do that would be obviously to just modify a texture, but I'm kind of stupid and I decided to make a custom mesh generated on the CPU. Also, modifying a texture at that time would be a bit difficult because as you can see, there are no textures. Everything is just a copy of this map file. So I finally decided to add some textures. I took random concrete texture from the internet and just went with it. But the problem was that I didn't really know what I'm doing. I mean, what kind of aesthetic I'm even going for. I went with concrete because at that time I thought I'm making another like Soviet dystopia type shit. But I decided that I have enough of it. I mean, I'm already making a game about Soviet bunker and I have to live in a fucking Khrushchevka in real life, so I need something new. Also, without shading, this concrete texture was very difficult to work with. And yes, I could add shading, but I'm lazy. So I switched the texture to this Minecraft oak planks and started designing roofs, cause you know, buildings should have them. I wanted them to be generated on the CPU like the walls, and it kind of works, but I couldn't really get it look good for all the possible cases. For example, when there's this L shape, there's always a hole in the middle, kind of like in healthcare insurance CEO, and I don't really know how to patch it without making a code more complicated, because this code is already an Italian pasta and it would probably make Yandere simulator look at least less bad. I mean, if I ran it with Valgrind, it would probably just crash and burn my apartment. But you know, no one pays me to think. I was trying to make it work for like few days. I mean, I also had school, so I didn't have a lot of time. And then I was like, why am I even doing this? I mean, I could just make these building blocks in Blender. So that's what I did, and suddenly hours of my work became just a waste of time. I really have no idea what I'm doing. Now, when I had these houses of my mind, I focused on the ground, because you know, ground also needs some textures. I decided to use Perlin noise to create this texture. In case you don't know, Perlin noise is a type of noise used to create natural looking random things. For example, in Minecraft, Perlin noise is used to generate the world. But how to make Perlin noise? And I don't really know, to be honest. I went on Wikipedia and there's a lot of text and only few images, and I don't like reading. So I made something, I don't know what. I don't know how much it has to do with Perlin noise, but looks like this, and this is the code. I will not explain it because it was a week ago and I don't remember what it does. You can take it or leave it. And then I made trees. Again. It's gonna be like third time I'm making procedurally generated trees. It's kind of weird that every time I make them they come out even worse than the last time. But I found a way to make everything look better. Just squint your eyes and it looks like a forest. And then this happened when I ran it through RenderDoc. I honestly don't know how it happened, but finding the answer would be much longer than just rewriting everything from scratch, because this code is so convoluted at this point. So I ignored that and moved on to make some grass. Grass is just some randomly placed triangles, so there's not much to talk about. Though I had few interesting mistakes along the way. For example, here I forgot about the offset, and all of the grass from entire map appeared in this one small space. I also had a problem with copying vertices into the GPU memory and it ended up like this, but in the end I think it looks fine. At that time everything was in place, so only thing left was to remodel buildings and repaint textures. And considering that I'm really bad at making art, both 3D and 2D, I think it came out well. In the end I decided to ditch this 50 by 50 pixel map because it just looks weird, so I remade it in much higher resolution, 180 by 180 pixels. And it was 100% better. But the buildings were kind of off. They had weird shapes because I just painted some random lines on the map. Kind of like Europeans did back in the day. So I just made a few adjustments and it ended up looking like this. I think it looks okay, to be honest, at least from the distance. Maybe it lacks a bit variety because every house is the same basically, but it's easy to fix and maybe I will at some point in the future. So yeah, I guess that's it. The final result always could be better, but I think it's fine. So yeah, if you have any suggestions you can comment. I don't really have much time lately, so I won't make a lot of videos, to be honest, because I have school. So yeah, it would be nice if you subscribe. You can also follow my Instagram if you want. And yeah, I guess that's it. Bye.